Ida is a smart but unfortunate loser who couldn't rizz up any girls because Cupid forgot he existed. However, when the hottest girl in school confesses to him, he pretends to be her boyfriend and slowly believes in love again.
他の女に優しくしないで。
It all begins when Ida has dinner with his childhood friend, Chiwa, who reminds him that the prettiest girl in school is in his class and asks if he isn't interested in her. However, when Ida makes it clear that he only cares how the girl ranks on the midterm's scoreboard, Chiwa realizes why Ida will die single and glued to his right hand. The next day in class, while Ida chats with his friend, Masuzu, the prettiest girl in school, walks in and makes time freeze for the students except for Ida, who picked up a book instead. Shortly after, the teacher announces that they'll be swapping seats, so Ida gets a back seat and figures out why backbenchers never change. Just then, Masuzu sits beside him and greets him while the other boys wish they could be him. Later that day, while Ida has dinner with Chiwa, she asks about the seat swap, and Ida says he ended up sitting next to Masuzu. When Chiwa freaks out, Ida points out that nothing will change just because he sits next to the school's trophy girl. But sometime later, Masuzu approaches Ida in class and asks him to walk her home, surprising Ida, who then figures it must be a trap. So he asks if she's trying to embarrass him, but Masuzu confesses she likes him. What? While Ida recovers from the shock, Masuzu grabs his arm and tells him to take her somewhere he can flood her pipes. A few moments later, while Ida grudgingly walks Masuzu home, the other students watch, fixated like signposts. Creeped out by this, Ida suddenly drags Masuzu into a secluded area where the baddie in her suddenly goes on vacation. He then asks why she told a lie in front of everyone, but Masuzu puts up an act and says it sucks sitting next to a slow-witted virgin. After calling him a chicken-head loner, Masuzu points out that she lied because he's different from other guys. Just then, the wind blows up Masuzu's skirt, giving Ida a mind-shattering view. Shocked, Ida freaks out at this, but Masuzu makes him believe he's got stones for eyes. After this, Masuzu reveals she's sick of love confessions since she transferred to the school. Ida then suggests she date one of the guys to put an end to it, but Masuzu says she can't reduce herself to such a level. After explaining how foolish it looks to dance like an idiot for getting presents on Valentine's, Ida realizes she's just like him. So he asks why she picked him, and Masuzu says she could tell he doesn't think with his pecker. She then asks him to be her fake boyfriend, but when Ida refuses, Masuzu takes out his journal from her bag and reads out his weird entries to his hearing. Suddenly, Ida freaks out and asks how she got her hands on it. Masuzu then explains that she found it in an encyclopedia she bought. Suddenly, Ida recalls that he hid his diary in the encyclopedia before accidentally selling it, so he tries to snatch it from her, but fails. Just then, Masuzu threatens to leak his weird journal writings and blackmails Ida into accepting her proposal. Afterward, while they head home with Ida feeling like a hostage, Chiwa catches up to them and angrily points out that they should get a room. At that moment, Masuzu asks who the miniature menace is, annoying Chiwa, who then claims to be Ida's childhood friend. Facing Ida, Chiwa asks why he didn't tell her he got a girlfriend, but he says it happened so fast. Masuzu then asks if she needs permission to date Ida, and Chiwa states that anyone who will date him has to go through her. So, Masuzu curtsies and announces that she'll be dating Ida from that day on. She then takes Ida away while Chiwa freaks out and calls him a traitor. Later at school, Kaoru tells Ida how disappointing it is to see his anti-love charade wiped out by the prettiest girl in school. When Ida says he's shocked by it too, Kaoru reveals that Chiwa has been acting weird and suggests he sort things out with her if he intends to date Masuzu. After school, on their way home, Ida tries to speak, but Masuzu reads his mind and says the answer is no. She then guesses he was about to ask if he could tell Chiwa that their relationship is fake. Surprised, Ida says she's right and adds that he'll make sure Chiwa keeps her mouth sealed. However, Masuzu states that he'll lose his ability to function as her romance shield once he spills their secret. After Ida explains why Chiwa wants to become famous, Masuzu tells Ida to set up a meeting with Chiwa the next day. The next day, Ida takes Chiwa to the tea club, where Masuzu invites Chiwa to join their club if she wants to become popular with guys. In addition, Masuzu reminds Chiwa that she's so popular, the boys won't stop crying in her DMs.
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
After this, Masuzu says she wasn't always popular and adds that she had the help of a book. When she pulls out Ida's journal, she explains that the book is the club's manual, and with it, they conduct experiments on how someone can gain popularity. When Chiwa refuses the offer, Masuzu points out that she and Ida will be alone in the club if she refuses to join, so Chiwa obliges. Later at the club, Masuzu points out that Chiwa will need to get a target to seduce into being her boyfriend. Ida then asks if she likes anyone, and Chiwa suggests Sakagami, a dude on the basketball team, since her classmates won't stop fawning over him. Suddenly, Masuzu flips out the club's manual and reads out Ida's entries to his hearing while he freaks out. After this, she points out that people who play guitar are popular and hands Chiwa an empty guitar box. She then instructs her to walk around with it to get attention. Confused, Chiwa points out that she neither knows any Western music nor any musicians, so Masuzu tells her about one and asks her to read about him. Later, Chiwa shows up in Ida's class with her empty box, and Ida asks if she's got another gig. Hearing this, some girls rush over to ask if she plays in a band, but Chiwa says she only busks at the station sometimes. One of the ladies then asks what kind of music she listens to. When she names a non-existent band, the ladies geek out on music, leaving Chiwa clueless. Meanwhile, Masuzu stares blankly, pretending she didn't put Chiwa up to it, so Ida worries for his bestie's safety. Out of the blue, the ladies ask Chiwa to play something on her guitar, but when she refuses, Sakagami's brother shows up and points out that Chiwa could get along with Sakagami. He then says he'd like to hear her play, too, but Chiwa disgraces her ancestors and flees the scene.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Meanwhile, Masuzu laughs hysterically while Ida wonders if there's anyone more cruel. Afterward, Ida and Masuzu join Chiwa at the club room, where she asks Masuzu if she enjoyed watching the train wreck. In response, Masuzu says she made an impression on her audience, but Ida protests by saying she'll only be remembered for making a fool of herself. Masuzu then explains that the path to dating starts by getting someone interested in her, so Chiwa asks how she got interested in Ida. After an awkward silence, Masuzu reveals that she offered herself to Ida because he saw her silky garments. While Ida tries to prove that he's innocent, Masuzu lectures Chiwa on how to bag a boyfriend by flashing them with her bright colors, but Chiwa insists she won't be reduced to a hoe. Just then, Masuzu decides to torture Ida with her bright colors, but this annoys Chiwa, so she leaves the clubroom. When Masuzu points out that she thought Chiwa would quit the club, Ida says she doesn't give up that easily. Curious, Masuzu asks why, and Ida explains that Chiwa was the star of the kendo team, but got into an accident that damaged her lower back. Although she recovered after surgery, Chiwa can't participate in kendo matches anymore. He then adds that Chiwa won't quit because she has now found something new to pour her heart into again, so Masuzu says she understands why he's friends with her, but warns him against paying attention to other girls since she now belongs to him. Sometime later, in the club, Masuzu comes up with a weird idea and says they have to fight against something to become insanely popular. She then whips out the club manual and reads aloud Ida's absurd entries while he freaks out. Afterwards, Masuzu decides to write a script and announces that Chiwa and Ida will act it out. Unsure, Chiwa asks if doing that will make her popular, and Masuzu assures her that her manual is never wrong, so Chiwa agrees to play along. Some days later, in class, Chiwa barges in and plays her part of the script, while Ida rises to play his too. After the enthralling spectacle, Chiwa ran out of the class as the drama ended, and surprisingly, the class erupted in applause. Just then, one of his classmates asks Ida if he'll have a full stage performance soon, but Ida stares blankly at them. Just then, Ida glances at Masuzu, who seems horrified that her life's work is perceived as a teaser. Later, in the clubroom, Masuzu announces that it's time for Chiwa to ask Sakagami out since her attempts to gain his attention must have increased his love points for her. When she adds that Sakagami must be blushing hard whenever he thinks of Chiwa, Ida says she's overdoing it. While they bicker about who's right, Chiwa announces that she's ready to ask Sakagami out. When Ida asks how she'll pull it off, Masuzu suggests she put a love letter in his shoe locker. The next day, Chiwa drops her love letter in Sakagami's shoe locker as planned and waits for him on the rooftop while Ida and Masuzu watch from a distance. Shortly after, Sakagami arrives and says he has always thought she was cute. After referring to her little show of madness, Sakagami adds that he likes girls with a mysterious side and suggests they see a movie together. Later, while Chiwa heads home with her club members, Masuzu announces that it's an epic win for the club. Just then, Masuzu points out that Chiwa can't relax yet, since the real work begins on the date. But when Chiwa dryly thanks her, Masuzu points out that she doesn't seem too excited about it, so Chiwa fakes a smile. Later that evening, Ida calls out to Chiwa and announces that dinner is ready. When she shows up, he presents a collection of her favorite meals and announces that they're celebrating her success in bagging a good-looking and older guy. Unmoved, Chiwa asks why they're celebrating, and Ida announces that every girl in school would wish to be her and the guys would see her differently. Chiwa then asks if he's okay with her dating another guy, and Ida reminds her it's why they began the club in the first place. When Ida says her efforts eventually paid off, Chiwa suddenly tears up and disagrees, surprising Ida. She then angrily says she regrets being his childhood friend because it sucks so much. Shocked, Ida points out that they've been friends since first grade and adds that she's like a little sister to him. But Chiwa corrects him, saying she's older than he is. Hearing this, Ida says that they've become like family, annoying Chiwa, who then says it's what she doesn't like. When Ida offers her a napkin, Chiwa knocks it off and runs out of the house. That night, Ida flashes back to when Chiwa returned home after her accident. He had told her she should be at the hospital, but she said she came by to practice walking. While they caught up, Chiwa reveals she won't be able to do kendo anymore since the accident affected her hip bone, and her doctor advised against it. Hearing this, Ida says the doctor must be dumb, but Chiwa says she was told the doctor is the best. After this, Chiwa asked Ida what was up with him, and he explained that his parents cheated on each other and ditched him before fading into the woodwork. So Chiwa asked what he plans to do, and Ida revealed he plans to stay with an aunt. After this, Chiwa asked if he would be leaving, but Ida said he wasn't and offered to make her some food. Unfortunately, the food turned out to be an epic disaster, and when Chiwa pointed it out, Ida said cooking would become a piece of cake if he put his mind to it. While they ate, Chiwa said she would find something more fun to do since she couldn't do kendo anymore. She then asks Ida what he'd like to do, but he says he has no idea, since he's neither smart nor athletic. He then points out that if he were smarter, he'd become a doctor so he could fix her hip. However, this makes Chiwa cry, so he announces that he'll become a doctor to fix her hip. The next morning, Ida wakes up and realizes he's overslept, so he picks up a book and hurries off to the train station. He then meets Masuzu and asks if she came to spy on Chiwa's date. In response, Masuzu tells him to perish the thought since she's only there as the president of the club to see her brave club member in action. Ida then states that they only have to see the intending couple meet up, and that's it. So Masuzu grabs his arm, but when he points out that he doesn't need to play pretend boyfriend, Masuzu insists he'll always remain her puppet and knocks the fight out of him. After Chiwa gets stood up for an hour, Sakagami and his friends show up laughing, because they had a bet that Chiwa would wait till eternity. So while his friends make fun of Chiwa, Ida wonders what's going on. Sakagami then tells Chiwa that he'd rather fly on a paper plane than go on a date with her. While Sakagami and his friends poke fun at Chiwa, Masuzu points out that Sakagami is actually a player with sweet boy attributes. When Ida realizes Masuzu saw this coming, he gets pissed and tries to leave to rescue his bestie in distress. However, Masuzu stops him and points out that matters of love don't matter to them. In addition, she says Chiwa might learn from the experience and eventually become like them. Pissed, Ida retorts and asks if the whole club thing was just fun for her. But Masuzu points out that he's aware that everything about the club was based on lies. While she plays the sheep in wolf clothing, Ida sees through her act and tells her to cut it out. Shocked, Masuzu then points out that they're the same, and Ida admits it. But he adds that they can't force Chiwa to feel as hopeless as they do since she's not like them. Suddenly, Ida turns to leave, but Masuzu grabs him and tells him she doesn't want to be alone anymore. But Ida tells her to keep her chin up and watch her boyfriend save the day.
Ha.
So, Ida dashes off and pulls a Superman punch while screaming at Sakagami and his friends. Unfortunately, they dodged his punch and wondered who the lunatic was. Ida then introduces himself as Chiwa's childhood friend. However, when Sakagami asks if they're supposed to flee just because of that, Ida suddenly taps into his world of fantasies and makes a scene while acting out his superhero fantasy. Surprised, his audience watched, wondering if they should dial 911. Afterward, Sakagami and his friends turn to leave, so Ida goes after them and knocks Sakagami down. When he asks him to apologize, Ida gets kicked by Sakagami's friend, but he refuses to back down. So Sakagami steps on him, while Ida commands him to apologize. However, Sakagami states that he's in no position to make demands, so his friends gathered and they tried to stomp the fight out of Ida, but he managed to bite Sakagami's leg. Ida then gets up and loudly reminds himself that Chiwa is watching him, but Sakagami tells him how lame he looks. So the beating continues while Chiwa screams, telling Ida to quit fighting the creeps. On hearing this, one of Sakagami's friends approaches her to teach her a lesson, but a rod suddenly lands at Chiwa's feet, so she picks it up and switches into a fighting stance. Annoyed, her attacker asks what she intends to do with it and reaches for the stick, but gets a brain reset instead. Suddenly, another of Sakagami's friends tries to defend his beaten buddy, but gets shown the nasty end of Chiwa's rod. After beating up Sakagami and his circus of clowns, Chiwa apologizes to him and reveals she was lying about her feelings for him.
What did you say, nigga?
After adding that she did it to spite Ida, Chiwa suggests they all forget it ever happened. Afterwards, Chiwa spots Ida knocked out cold and approaches him to check if he's alive. She then tells him his nose is squirting blood. Shortly after, she refers to the moment when Ida says someone was watching him and asks if he was talking about her, since Masuzu is nowhere to be found. Shocked, Ida exclaims, saying he wasn't, but he collapses afterwards. The next day, Ida shows up at school with a redesigned face, and Kaoru points out that he's become a celebrity for the stunts he pulled at the train station. After this, Kaoru points out that Masuzu is absent from school and adds that she's probably upset since he left her behind to play hero for some other girl. In response, Ida says he wasn't trying to play hero and flashes back to the moment Masuzu warned him against paying attention to other girls when he's with her. After school, Ida finds his way to Masuzu's house with a hand-drawn map, but suddenly gets hit with a pair of hot balloons. While Masuzu says she'll punish him by hugging him tightly, the startled dude breaks free from her grip and is surprised to see her healthy as always. He then thanks her for throwing the rod the previous day, but Masuzu says it's what any girlfriend would do. After a while, Ida points out that Chiwa won't stop showing up at the club since she got rejected. Hearing this, Masuzu points out that Ida seems to know everything about Chiwa, and he explains that it's because they're childhood friends. Suddenly, Masuzu halts and kisses Ida. After this, she asks Ida if he hasn't kissed Chiwa, and just then, he realizes what just happened, so he freaks out while saying he hasn't. In response, Masuzu lays claim to his first kiss and asks what he thinks. Ida then asks if she's okay giving her first kiss to a fake boyfriend, but Masuzu says it had to be him. The next day, Ida heads to his bathroom, where he finds Chiwa and freaks out. He then shuts the door and asks why she's in his bathroom. In response, she explains that she texted him the previous night to inform him that she'd be using his shower since hers is broken. When Ida apologizes for not reading the texts, Chiwa asks him to make it up to her by walking her to school. When Ida agrees, she announces that she'll be dressed in a few minutes. So Ida enters his kitchen and is surprised to find Masuzu. He then asks what she's doing in his kitchen, and she explains that she's making breakfast for him. When she adds that she had texted him the night before, Ida asks how she got in, and she says she thought he left the door open for her. Sensing his tension, Masuzu asks if he'd like to see her in nothing but an apron, so she unzips her skirt and lets it fall.
You know what time it is?
Just then, Chiwa calls Ida to ask for the hairdryer, making Masuzu wonder who it is. When Ida tells her it's his aunt, Masuzu says she'll introduce herself, but Ida stops her and tells her to stay put. After this, he heads to the bathroom to hand Chiwa the hairdryer. She then asks if he thinks she should cut her hair, but while Ida says it's fine as it is, Masuzu calls him to ask about some buttons. Startled, Ida explains that his aunt always gets home in the morning. So when Chiwa suggests she says hello, Ida stops her and rushes to the kitchen. After a while, both ladies step out and spot each other, so they charge up for a fight. Sometime later, Ida finds a love letter in his shoe locker and heads to a corner to read it. He then realizes his admirer is hoping to revive a connection they once had. During lunch break, Ida asks Kaoru what he thinks about the letter while lying that it's a translation exercise on an English problem he's working on. In response, Kaoru says that Chiwa might be the culprit, since he now has a girlfriend. So later at the clubroom, Ida ogles Chiwa, and when she asks why he won't keep his eyes off her, she denies staring at her. Afterwards, she asks about Masuzu's whereabouts, and Ida says she had something to do. Suddenly, Chiwa moves her chair closer to his and leans on his shoulder. Surprised, Ida asks what she's up to, and in response, Chiwa says she's practicing what she'd do if she got popular and had a boyfriend. Just when Ida decides to ask Chiwa if she wrote the letter, Masusa arrives and slams her face into her meal. While she thanks Ida for waiting, he tells her she's insane and wonders if Chiwa is okay. Masuzu then fakes an apology and adds that she thought Chiwa was a Chihuahua burglar. When Chiwa protests, Masuzu accuses her of using her feminine wiles to seduce Ida while she was gone. In her defense, Chiwa says it's a club activity, since she was only practicing what she'd do when she gets a boyfriend. Later that day, Ida checks his shoe locker and finds another love letter. So while he reads the letter, Masuzu shows up and startles him. After hiding the letter, she drags his arm and announces that they're going home. Shortly after this, Masuzu asks if he's hiding something from her. And when Ida asks why she's asking, Masuzu points out that he was watching Chiwa closely in the clubroom and reminds him of her warning to keep his eyes off other ladies. When Ida refuses to spill, Masuzu threatens to read his journal of awkward entries to the entire school. Despite this, Ida figures he'd better keep the letters secret and tells her to go ahead. Just then, Mana, Masuzu's little sis, shows up and tells Masuzu that her boyfriend looks pretty ordinary. Unsurprised, Masuzu asks why she showed up, and Mana reveals that she came to check out her boyfriend. She then asks Ida if he really likes Masuzu, but when he freaks out, she says she's just kidding. Afterward, Mana reveals that their dad asked her to check on Masuzu, and reveals that he seems pissed over the phone. While Mana promises to put in a good work for her, Ida wonders what could make Masuzu as scared as she looks. Mana then asks Masuzu to give her Ida, surprising them both. Suddenly, she kisses Ida and freaks him out. Just then, her driver announces that it's time to leave, so Mana says her goodbyes and introduces herself. Just then, Ida realizes she's Masuzu's sister. When they zoom off, Ida asks Masuzu why she's shivering, but she says, just like him, she has things she doesn't want to be questioned about. Later, at the pool, Ida finds Masuzu wrapped up in her swimsuit and asks why she isn't getting in the pool. In response, Masuzu says she doesn't like getting wet, so Ida goes on blabbing just to keep her entertained. But since she's had enough, she rises and announces she's going to swim. As she approaches the pool, the crowd goes into a frenzy while some idiot drowns at the sight of his idol in a swimsuit. Just then, Masuzu steps into the pool and tries to swim, but drowns.
Stop it. Get some help.
After she gets taken out of the water, Ida tries to wake her, but soon realizes she needs CPR. Just then, he realizes he has to do something, so he resists the awkwardness and gives Masuzu mouth to mouth. A few moments later, Masuzu awakens and soon finds herself at the clinic with Ida sitting by her bedside. She then berates herself for drowning, but Ida assures her that anyone could drown. Shortly after, Masuzu apologizes for acting weirdly, and Ida says he also owes her an apology. Before he could apologize, Masuzu revealed that his kiss with Mana bothered her. In response, Ida tells her to forget about it since he has overwritten it. Curious, Masuzu asks how, and he reluctantly reveals that CPR and kisses are technically the same. So, Masuzu agrees to forget it all while Ida rises to get the nurse. Somewhere else, Chiwa gets a text notifying her of Ida's wet and sloppy kiss with Masuzu, so she gets sad and runs home in the rain. The following day, Chiwa's mom informs Ida that Chiwa's got a fever and announces that she has to go to work. Ida then says he'll look after her. Some minutes later, Chiwa wakes to find Ida reading by her bedside. When he asks if she needs anything, Chiwa asks if he can give her a sponge bath, shocking him. Afterwards, while Ida cleans her back, Chiwa tells him to be gentle and points out that it's been a while since he visited her room. She then thanks Ida and decides to finish up by herself, while he explores her room and finds some familiar chopsticks. So he asks Chiwa why she kept them, and she flashes back to the first time he cooked for her. When Chiwa explains that the memory will stay forever in her heart, even if he falls in love with another girl, Ida figures Chiwa can't be the mystery girl sending him letters. Afterward, Chiwa asks Ida to give her CPR too, but he says she's breathing fine and touches her head. The next day, when Ida arrives in school with Chiwa, he greets Masuzu, but Chiwa scolds him for flirting early in the morning. Hearing this, Masuzu accuses her of trying to steal her boyfriend. While they bicker, Ida checks his shoe locker and finds another letter.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Shocked, he shuts the locker while the ladies ask him if something was wrong, but he denies this. On reading the letter, Ida realizes it's an invitation to the rooftop. So, he heads to the school roof and finds Haim waiting for him. When he walks up to her, she confesses her love using a video game, but Ida points out that her letters don't make sense since they're meeting for the first time. In response, Haim states that not all the memories of his past life have returned and introduces herself. In addition to this, Haim reveals hers and Ida's true names in their past lives, surprising Ida. Haim then walks up to him and hugs him tightly, but Ida manages to break free and asks how she knows his name in his fantasy world. So Haim reveals that she was there at the train station when he engaged Sakagami and his minions. When she reveals that his performance broke the seal on her past life memories, Ida wonders if she's suffering from 8th grade syndrome. Suddenly, Chiwa and Masuzu show up on the rooftop and find Haim hugging Ida. So they ask him who she is while pointing out that his drive is strong enough to drill for diamonds. Hearing this, Ida tells Haim to keep their relationship from their past life a secret while Masuzu and Chiwa approach them, asking questions. Just then, Ida tries to calm them down, but Chiwa asks Haim who she is, and she introduces herself as Ida's ex, shocking everyone except herself. Chiwa then asks Ida why he dated someone and never told her about it, while Masuzu documents everything happening in her journal. At the same time, Haim asks Ida who the girls are, and Chiwa introduces herself as Ida's childhood friend. When Masuzu introduces herself as Ida's girlfriend, Haim freaks out and says Ida belongs to her. Afterward, Ida heads to the club room and finds Haim and Masuzu talking. Suddenly, Haim rises to hug him, and Ida asks what she's doing in the club room. Haim then responds by saying Masuzu proposed they meld minds, while Masuzu adds that she invited Haim for tea. Curious, Ida asks why she did that, and Masuzu explains that as his current girlfriend, she figured she should be swapping notes with his ex. In addition, Masuzu suggests that Haim join their club, but Chiwa objects to this and accuses Haim of only wanting Ida rather than becoming popular. However, Masuzu shuts her up by saying the same applies to her. As a requirement to join the club, Masuzu hands Haim a notebook and asks her to describe the type of maiden she'd like to be in the form of a poem. Chiwa then says it's too easy and suggests a test where Haim would launch a toast attack on Ida to make herself popular. While they demonstrate how Haim would get it done, Haim chokes on a cookie and faints while Ida grabs her. Coincidentally, the hall monitors arrive to piss on their parade. Afterward, Haim awakens in the club room, and Ida then asks why she's so bent on having him. In response, Haim explains that she joined the school hoping a new world would open to her, but to her dismay, the names only changed. Everything remained gray and uneventful until she witnessed Ida shining at the train station. When Haim talks about how he refused to back down while fighting for a girl, Ida points out that he was just being childish. Confused, Haim asks what he means, and he explains that he doesn't live on Fantasy Island anymore. However, Haim disagrees and comments that not even a cursed sword can sever their connection to their past lives.
What?
While she pep talks him into believing he's still a warrior, just like in his daydreams, Masuzu and Chiwa eavesdrop outside the clubroom. Later, while they clean the pool, Ida asks why they had to do it on a weekend, and Chiwa announces that it's their punishment for getting busted by the hall monitors. Just then, Chiwa points out that Masuzu nearly drowned in the pool and asks how she managed that, since the pool is so shallow. In response, Masuzu says she'd rather explain what Ida's lips tasted like. While they clean, a car pulls up in the yard, attracting their attention. Just when Chiwa says that the car looks expensive, the driver opens the door and Mana steps out. Shortly after, she gets introduced to Chiwa and points out that she's cute. Masuzu then asks what she wants this time, and Mana says she has come to apologize since she failed at putting in a good word for her with their dad. She then announces that their dad got mad and wants her back home immediately. Pissed, Chiwa asks who the little devil is and Ida explains that she's Masuzu's little sister. When Ida asks Masuzu where her home is, she says it's Sweden and adds that she'll likely never return to Japan. So, Masuzu breaks up with Ida and tells him to have a nice life with his childhood friend. Hearing this, Chiwa claims that Ida was always hers, but when Masuzu agrees and leaves, Chiwa goes after him, asking why she's giving up so easily. At that moment, Haim arrives on the scene and tells Ida that she's done with the assignment, but Mana suddenly snatches the notebook from Haim. When Ida tries to snatch the book, he gets blocked by her bodyguard. Mana then says she is curious about what kind of club Masuzu runs. So she reads out Haim's writing and makes a joke of it while Haim breaks down in tears. So Ida rushes to get the book back, but he gets stopped and roughed up by the guard. To make Haim feel better, Ida says everyone has embarrassing fantasies, and he suddenly goes on ranting about his awkward fantasies. Just when Mana says that he's starting to creep her out, Masuzu arrives and tells her to stop since neither Ida nor Haim did anything wrong. Facing Ida, Masuzu tells him to get his bleeding checked, but Ida says he's got one final request as her boyfriend. He then tells Haim that her poem was cute and helps her up. After this, he suggests she put her poems into words, but when Mana interrupts, Ida tells her to shut her trap. Annoyed by this, Mana barks an order at her bouncer, and when he approaches Ida, Haim shields him and tells the spoiled brats to get lost. Hearing this, Masuzu decides she's not leaving, surprising Mana, who then asks if she's really disobeying an order from their dad. After this, Masuzu forces Mana to apologize to Haim and tells her to inform their dad that she's not returning home. After they leave, Ida suggests they get back to cleaning the pool, but collapses afterward. Later in the club room, Masuzu says he shouldn't have stood against her family since something dangerous might happen. However, Ida points out that he doesn't care what her stupid family does, but only hates the idea of breaking up with her. Shocked, Masuzu reminds him that he's just a fake boyfriend and leans on his shoulder. In that moment, Chiwa opens the room door and protests, while Haim shows up to submit her application to join the club. After this, Masuzu approves her application while Chiwa and Ida congratulate her. Sometime later, while they meet in the clubroom and plan a summer trip, AI, the hall monitor, barges in and announces that it's not happening on her watch. She then rubs off the board and announces that she's shutting the club down.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Some days later, when Ida awakens in the school clinic, he gets a glimpse of Haim's mini plums and freaks out. When he realizes she's without clothes, he hops off the bed and freaks out some more. Just then, Haim sits up. Ida asks why she's without clothes, and she says it's because the world needed more love.
Nice.
Suddenly, Haim hugs Ida while Masuzu and Chiwa bang the locked doors. While Ida melts in view of the looming disaster, Haim says it's probably poltergeists who can be banished by repeatedly chanting the words "I love you, Haim." Ida, on the other hand, is scared to bits, so he asks if she can help him escape, but the pounding on the door intensifies. To make matters worse, Ida hears the girls plotting to break down the door and blame him for it. Suddenly, Haim lets the girls in, surprising them to find a room without Ida. The ladies ask Haim where he is, but she says she has no idea. Meanwhile, Ida wraps himself in one of the curtains, hoping he doesn't get found. At the same time, the ladies grill Haim for answers as to his whereabouts, but she makes them believe they're mistaken. Curious, Masuzu asks Haim why she's without clothes, and she almost lets it slip, but she switches and spits some nonsense about receiving a challenge from the underworld. After this, Masuzu approaches Ida's hiding spot, but suddenly gets interrupted by AI, who asks what they're doing. Afterwards, she gives them a pep talk and reminds them that the nurse's office is not a playground. Pained by her insults, Masuzu calls AI horrible, but she calls them the horrible ones for flipping a Haim who used to be a model student. Just then, AI reminds them that their club has been shut down, and while she rubs in the salt, Chiwa accuses her of being jealous that they'd become popular. When AI exclaims from the shock, Chiwa says she's jealous of the club because she knows she'll never find a boyfriend. Rattled by this, AI screams, saying she has a boyfriend. Masuzu then asks if her boyfriend is a student at their school, but AI rants about her long-distance relationship with a Tokyo-based trust fund dude. After this, the ladies turn to leave the room, but AI stops them and asks about Ida. In response, Masuzu asks what she wants with him, pissing AI off so bad she insinuates she'd never want anything from the idiot. At the time, their little club had been shut down by AI the witch, and surprisingly, Ida feels excited about it. However, summer classes commence, and Ida bids his problems farewell. However, on his first day, he bumps into AI, who then asks why he's there. In response, Ida says he came for the summer school, so AI anxiously asks what class he's in. When he tells her, she lights up and throws a mini tantrum, leaving everyone concerned about her mental health. When Ida asks if she's okay, she wishes he were blind and deaf. She then pretends to be pissed they're in the same class, while Ida asks if she's gunning for a top-tier college too. After AI blabbers on her indecisiveness, she suddenly freaks out and asks why he's trying to be in her friend zone when they should be enemies. While Ida wonders where that came from, AI points out that he'll infect her with the club virus if she keeps chatting with him. So when she takes her leave, Kaoru taps Ida and says she was a classmate of AI back in elementary school. Later in class, while Kaoru and AI chat, Ida greets them from afar, but AI maintains the beef. At night, while Ida and Chiwa have dinner, she regrets not going for summer classes since she won't get to be with Ida every day. So Ida reveals that AI is in his class, surprising Chiwa, who then asks how AI studies when she has a boyfriend. Ida then asks if they're beefing, and Chiwa reveals that she got called into the faculty room for fighting with AI. Afterward, Chiwa asks Ida if anyone has ever asked him out, but he says that only happened in kindergarten. So she invites him to see a fireworks show with her, but Ida refuses and adds that he plans to study all summer long. Later that night, he gets a voice note from Masuzu threatening to leak his weird journal contents if he doesn't show up alone at a cafe. Suddenly, he realizes he has a girlfriend and figures he was wrong about his problems. Shortly after, he arrives at the cafe panting, while Masuzu calls him a useless man for showing up late. Ida then asks why she's trash talking at him, and she replies by saying she can be her true self since there's no one around to watch them pretend. When Ida resigns to fate, Masuzu says he's been getting chummy with AI at the summer school. While Ida wonders how she knows, Masuzu asks him to dig up dirt on her. He then asks why, and Masuzu explains that it's a ploy to get the club back up and running without the hall monitors interfering. In addition, she reveals that none of Ai's classmates are aware of her mystery boyfriend and then guesses the boyfriend doesn't exist. So she asks Ida to find evidence that she made it up.
Let's go.
The next day, while AI solves some of the problems on the board, Ida wonders how to investigate her. So, during lunch break, Kaoru joins him and starts talking about how amazing AI is. When she asks if Ida thinks she's cute, Ida asks Kaoru if she's a girl. Hearing this, Kaoru freaks out and reveals that AI has someone she likes. Just then, Kaoru says she'll be back and hurries to go get AI. When they arrive, Kaoru tells AI to say hi to Ida, but she insults him instead. Ida then asks if they're really childhood friends, but AI responds with a glare. At this point, Kaoru whispers in her ear and threatens to stop helping her, so AI apologizes and shyly drops a pack of lunch. When she tells him to help himself, Ida checks it out for a grenade hiding somewhere. However, when Kaoru tells him to try it out, Ida takes a bite and suddenly lights up while complimenting the taste. Suddenly, AI freaks out and runs off, leaving Kaoru to explain that she's excited to hear him compliment her cooking. After this, Kaoru tries to put in a good word for AI, but Ida asks why she's boring him with all that when AI has a boyfriend. Shocked, Kaoru asks Ida where he heard that, and he reveals that she once mentioned having a boyfriend named Mitchell. Afterward, while Ida heads home, Kaoru and AI catch up with him. Kaoru then asks if he's got any plans for the rest of the day. However, Ida says he's eating out alone since Chiwa's got plans with her parents. So Kaoru asks if they could tag along, but AI asks why, so Kaoru faces her and says it's an opportunity.
What do you mean by that?
At the diner, Ida asks AI why she goes out in her uniform, and she explains that it's the school rule. Amused, Ida then asks if she wears her uniform on dates too, but Kaoru interrupts and tells AI to speak. Just when she's about to confess that Mitchell doesn't exist, Chiwa shows up and asks AI to complete her sentence. Surprised, Ida asks what she's doing at the diner, and she explains that she spotted them on her way to the steakhouse. When Chiwa grills AI for more info, Ida tells her to stop and ask why someone as upright as AI would lie about having a boyfriend. Surprised that he believes her, Chiwa reminds him that she shut their club down and calls her a traitor. However, Ida defends AI and asks her if he's wrong. Just then, AI decides to play along and tells more lies about her non-existent boyfriend while Kaoru marvels at her creativity at lying. Just then, Haim arrives and says she wants to hear more about Mitchell, so AI tells her lies perfectly enough to make Haim designate her as a love master.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
The next day, Ida and Masuzu meet up, and she asks if he's dug up anything about AI. In response, Ida reveals that AI has a boyfriend whom she bragged about, but since Masuzu doesn't think it's good enough as proof, Ida asks what it'd take for Masuzu to trust her. Masuzu then suggests they meet the mystery boyfriend and find out. When Ida asks her to trust him, Masuzu says she has lost her ability to trust people. However, Ida debunks this and explains that she won't be running a club if she doesn't trust its members to go with her plans. After this, Ida gives her a pep talk on why she should trust herself, but Masuzu suddenly gets up and kisses him for saying something thoughtful. The next day, after class, Ida thinks of Masuzu's order to keep up the investigation when Kaoru and AI startled him. Then, Kaoru asks if he'd like to have a drink with them again, so Ida agrees. However, when Kaoru points out that AI would go anywhere with Ida, she snaps out of her hibernation and attacks Kaoru. Suddenly, she faces Ida and tells him he'd be lucky to go out with her. Later that day, while Ida makes dinner, Chiwa asks why he's spying for Masuzu, and Ida explains that it's a plot to revive their shut-down club. Sensing that Chiwa is distracted, Ida checks what she's up to and figures she's buried in a Love Charms magazine, so he serves dinner and Chiwa gets excited. The next day at school, Ida spots AI, stalking him, and wonders what she's looking at. So when he leaves the class, he finds Kaoru and AI sitting somewhere close. When he approaches them, Kaoru tells AI to say her greeting, but she stands and says it's a coincidence to run into him, leaving Ida surprised. A few moments later, Kaoru talks about an upcoming fireworks event and hands Ida an invitation. When he checks it out, he points out that it's packed with people every year. So AI asks Ida if he's attending with any of his club friends, but he says he turned them all down. Suddenly, AI celebrates and claims her love charm worked like magic, startling Ida, who then falls off his chair. AI then asks if he fell out of the chair from the excitement, and pep talks him on outgrowing childish things. Afterwards, AI asks Ida who he's going to see the fireworks with while checking himself out in the mirror. But to her surprise, Ida says he's not going to the event. AI then asks if he'll be busy that day, but Ida says he plans to spend the time studying. When she encourages him to go, Ida asks AI if she's going with her boyfriend, confusing AI, who had forgotten about her lies. When she regains her memories, she cooks up another lie and says she's completely free for the event. Seeing this won't work, Kaoru takes out 3 tickets to a movie and suggests they go see it together. Later that day, after Ida updates his club members, Masuzu states that it's his chance to dig up dirty laundry on AI. When Ida asks for details about his mission, Masuzu explains that he has to make AI fall for him so they can accuse her of cheating on her boyfriend. Ida then asks what they'd do if she doesn't have a boyfriend, and Masuzu reveals they can handle her like a puppet once she's in love. Ida then protests, saying there's no way he can make AI fall for him, but Masuzu comments that the hero he fantasizes about becoming would be ashamed of him. When she takes out his journal to read, Ida throws a tantrum and collapses. While he flashes back to the unfortunate chain of events that led to that particular journal entry, Masuzu suggests that Chiwa go on the date as a pair to babysit Ida. When she puts Haim on tailing duty, Haim says she can't do it since she'll be betraying AI, her love master. The next day, Ida arrives late to the meetup point and apologizes for keeping the waiting. While AI asks him why he took so long, Chiwa suddenly pops out of nowhere with a rod and tries to knock Ida out. Luckily for him, Ida dodges the attack and asks if she's trying to put him 6 feet under. Kaoru then asks Chiwa why she showed up, and she responds, saying she'd like to go see the movie with them. Meanwhile, Masuzu tells Chiwa through her calms to act naturally dressed. Kaoru then decides to let Chiwa tag along, and on their way, Chiwa asks why AI gets to pair with Ida, but Masuzu informs her that everything is going as planned. After this, Masuzu reminds Ida what his mission objective is, but he tells her it's a mission impossible. AI hears this and asks what he's talking about, but Ida brushes it off. Moments later, AI asks if he has any memories from kindergarten, but Ida says there's nothing worth talking about. Sensing she looks offended, Ada asks AI if something is wrong, but she dismisses it and asks if he thinks she's a criminal for going out in an outfit different from her uniform. While Ida wonders what she means, AI reminds him that he once asked if she wears her uniform on dates. So Ida comments that she looks cute in her outfit, making AI glow like a neon light at a bachelorette's party. She then grabs his hand and tries to run, but Ida tells her to chill out and walk like she did before. While they held hands, AI asked Ida if he remembered them running while holding hands, but Ida stared back like he was waiting for a kiss. Suddenly, Chiwa ruins his chances of getting any while pointing out that Ida is natural when it comes to dodging. When Ida points out that she does that when something bothers her, AI says he knows her too well. In response, Ida says it's because they're childhood friends, surprising AI. Immediately, Masuzu orders Chiwa to stand down and stop interfering with the mission. Shortly after, when they arrive at the movies, Masuzu tells Ida that he lacks game and suggests he gets to work rizzing AI till she floods the seats. Hearing this, Ida asks if she thinks it's a walk in the park and ends the call. Just then, the movie begins with a toothless zombie scene, so AI grabs Ida while claiming she isn't scared. As a punishment for taking that well, Chiwa grabs Ida's hands and gives them a hard squeeze while accusing him of cheating. A few minutes into the movie, the plot mimics Ida's awkward love triangle, so AI gets up to support her favorite character, but gets opposed by Chiwa, who then supports her fave. Meanwhile, Ida writhes in agony and wonders why the ladies just won't get along. Suddenly, AI tears up, and Ida asks if something was wrong, but he gets ignored. Later, Masuzu calls her team to inform them that their mission failed since it's impossible to take pictures inside a movie theater. Sometime later, Ida finds a notebook in class and checks it out. He then realizes the owner is obsessed with some dude. Just when he tries to drop the note, AI shows up panting and asks if someone left the notebook behind on their way out. Just then, she offers to return it to the person and approaches Ida to seize the book. However, when she does, the book drops alongside other books from Ida's bag. She then picks up the book and hurries. While Ida calls her a jerk for leaving without helping, he realizes she picked the wrong note. Curious, he opens the note and realizes it is a journal filled with fantasies about some dude, so he shuts it. However, his curiosity took over, and he read through the weird experiences of the writer with her crush. Meanwhile, AI hides somewhere and checks out the note she picked, but gets the shock of her life when she realizes she picked the wrong one. Suddenly, she rushes back to the classroom while screaming and hoping Ida doesn't read it or find out it's hers. Back in the class, Ida realizes the notebooks belong to AI and realizes she's a fantasist just like him. When he gets confused about the identity of her crush, AI shows up and realizes he's gone through the book. She then chases him while he runs out, claiming he didn't see anything. Unfortunately, Ida runs into a dead end, and when AI catches up, she jumps him, and they land in a room. Concerned, Ida asks if she's hurt, but AI freaks out and asks him to end her since she's a fantasizing freak who has no more reasons to live. After this, she tells him to laugh at her since he must have read about all her fantasies. So Ida apologizes and says he won't laugh even if it means the end of him. Since he's a comrade, Ida puts on a performance and acts out his fantasies. Just then, AI laughs at him and points out that his fantasies are lame, surprising Ida. Suddenly, AI hugs Ida and points out that he did the same thing when he rescued Chiwa at the train station. Surprised, Ida asks her how she knows, and AI reveals that everyone talks about it. In response, Ida says it was the best he could do to get rid of Sakagami and the gang. AI then asks if they could stay like that for a little while, but Ida says it's not a good idea. After this, AI asks how much of the book he read, but Ida says he only read the poems. He then hands her the book while apologizing for ruining it. When he offers to buy her a new one, AI asks if that's all he'd do to make it up to her. So Ida asks what she wants, but AI tries to look cute. Later that day, Chiwa informs Ida that the fireworks event is coming up and asks if he'd like to go with her and Haim. However, Ida insists her won't be going, leaving Chiwa pissed since she got a new yukata. The next day, Ida prepared to head out and hoped he didn't end up 6 feet under for what he was about to do. Shortly after, he meets up with AI, who then points out that the face cap is not his style. After this, AI heads in the wrong direction, so Ida asks where she's headed, and she says she thought he'd know. After walking for a while, Ida points out that he hasn't been in the area for a while since he stopped visiting when he got older. While they check and explore the area, Ida realizes it looks familiar, so he walks ahead and finds a path. He then points out that the path leads to a cedar tree and asks AI how she knows that. Suddenly, the sky lights up from the fireworks, so Ida grabs AI and hurriedly pulls her along the path to the tree. While they watch the fireworks, AI reveals that he was the one who found the spot and told her about it. Shocked, Ida's memories come flooding back, and he realizes AI was his friend from back in the day.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
After this, AI says that she told Kaoru about it, so he reluctantly decided to help hook them up. While Ida wonders how that must have felt for Kaoru, AI explains that since her family moved when she was younger, they lost touch, but she recognized him when she enrolled at the same school as him. However, AI says she couldn't tell him because her was always flirting with Chiwa and also got himself a girlfriend. Ida then apologizes, but AI says it's fine and hands him an old and rumpled piece of paper. After checking it out, Ida asks what it is, so AI explains that it's their marriage registration certificate and adds that he once promised to put a stamp in it. However, Ida denies this, but flashes back to the moment and trembles while AI gets in his face. She then tries to get him to stamp the certificate, but Ida points out that she has a boyfriend. In response, AI says that's an obvious lie and blames her talents for conjuring up fantasies. Shocked, Ida says she'll have to tell Masuzu and the others about it, but AI refuses, saying she'll die of embarrassment. After this, she says she'll dump her imaginary boyfriend if he agrees to marry her. But Ida says her boyfriend doesn't exist and insists he won't forgive her for lying to him. Because of this, Ida calls her a love-sick idiot and flees while AI runs after him. Just then, Ida bumps into Chiwa and Haim returning from the fireworks event. So Chiwa points out that her looks sus in the cap and asks if Masuzu is hiding nearby. In response, Ida says he only went to get some fresh air. Meanwhile, AI stays out of sight and watches the ladies whisk Ida away. The next day, Ida meets up with Masuzu at the clubroom, and she accuses him of ignoring his girlfriend to frolic around with AI. Shocked, Ida tries to deny this, but eventually asks how she found out. Masuzu then says they couldn't have picked a worse meet-up point than the school. As punishment, Masuzu asks Ida to kiss her for the same amount of time he spent with AI. However, when Ida says it's about 30 minutes, Masuzu slashes it down to 3.
Wow! Incredible!
So Ida kisses her on the chin, but she shoves him off and says he's forgiven. Afterward, AI shows up at the clubroom where she announces that she rescinded the order to shut down the clubroom and adds that she'll be joining as a coach. Hearing this, Chiwa protests, but Masuzu says they don't have a choice. Afterward, AI holds a meeting with club members, and Chiwa asks who put her in charge. In response, AI says it's thanks to her that the club wasn't shut down. However, Chiwa blames her for their predicament, and this results in a verbal combat. Just then, Haim tries to calm Chiwa down while Ida and Masuzu watch the fracas. Some moments later, Masuzu comments that she believes in AI because she has a rich and handsome boyfriend. Hearing this, AI corrects her by saying she has more feminine appeal and experience than any of them, so Chiwa asks her to show them how to ask a guy out. Suddenly, AI says it's wrong to ask a guy out and adds that they should rather make the boys ask them out. Just then, Masuzu suggests that Ida ask AI out, so they can learn how to react when being asked out. Hearing this, AI freaks out, but gets herself together and asks Ida to bring it on. A few moments later, Ida tries to raise AI up, but since he gets shot down every single time, he gives up. However, AI refuses to let him back down in peace and insists he has to explode with love and desire for her. When Ida complains about being shot down, AI says she's not as cheap as he thinks. At this point, Masuzu intervenes and takes out Ida's journal, sparking Ai's curiosity. She then explains that it's a journal containing secrets on how to become famous with the boys. After this, she gets in Ida's face and suggests he get in character and use awesome pickup lines from his archive. But when Ida asks her to do it herself, Masuzu tries to tell the truth about the journal. Ida then stops her and decides to play along. Afterward, Ida channels his inner fantasist and tells AI to fall for him while staring at her intently. In response, AI says he can't seduce her by force, so Ida whispers in her ears and clicks her sweet buttons. After blushing, AI decides to give him a chance if he's that serious and announces they're now a couple. However, the learners protest, saying they have no idea what just happened, while AI says she's done pretending to be seduced. Just when Masuzu asks if she wasn't really seduced, AI says she couldn't possibly fall for a small fry like Ida, so Masuzu tells them to do it again. Just then, Chiwa pulls them apart and tells AI to keep her hands off Ida. However, AI asks why she needs permission to touch Ida, and Chiwa says it's because she's his childhood friend. Suddenly, AI reveals she's also Ida's childhood friend, surprising everyone in the room. When she explains that they used to be classmates 10 years ago, Chiwa asks Ida why he didn't tell her. In response, Ida says he had forgotten but only remembered recently. Afterward, Haim holds Ida's hands and announces that she met him first in their past lives, and this makes her his ex. Just then, Masuzu calls everyone to order and says they've strayed off point. She then adds that the club has become official and suggests they discuss plans for the summer. Hearing this, Haim suggests they go to the beach since she's never been to one. Suddenly, the ladies discuss swimsuits, and before long, they decide to go shopping. A few moments later, Chiwa tries to fake a smile in the restroom, but fails, so she heads out but gets ambushed by Ida, who then points out that Chiwa looks depressed. Chiwa then fakes a smile and says nothing is wrong, but Ida grabs her and tells her it doesn't matter which childhood friend came first. Hearing this, Chiwa asks how he found out, but Ida says he spent more time with her compared to anyone else. Suddenly, Chiwa lights up and hugs Ida. When she gets off him, Chiwa invites Ida to check out swimsuits with her. When Ida points out that she's got one, Chiwa says she has outgrown it. Later that day, Ida asks Masuzu if he could go shopping with Chiwa, and she tells him to go. While Ida wonders why she isn't upset, Masuzu asks where they'll be shopping. When Ida tells her, Masuzu comments that it's the hub where love-sick idiots congregate. In response, Ida says she sounds like a bitter hag and adds that he's surprised she allowed the beach idea to fly since she can't swim. Masuzu then says she couldn't refuse Haim's request. The next day, Chiwa meets up with Ida at the station and apologizes for keeping him waiting. Just then, he asks why they had to meet at the station, and Chiwa explains that it feels like a date that way. Out of nowhere, Masuzu shows up and apologizes for keeping Ida waiting, surprising Ida, who then asks why she's there. In response, Masuzu says she came because she's his girlfriend, annoying Chiwa, who then asks what stunt she's trying to pull. Just then, Masuzu fakes her surprise to see Chiwa and points out that she's so small she couldn't tell she was there. While they both charge up for a fight, Ida tries to calm them down. Meanwhile, somewhere nearby, AI transfers her anger to a pole and calls Ida a Casanova. Some moments later, he tells them to play rock, paper, scissors to determine who he attends to first. However, when they do, Masuzu hits Chiwa on the head, so they try again. But when Chiwa tries to retaliate, Masuzu defends herself. Frustrated, Ida says he'll check out their outfits at the same time, so they head into the dressing room. Suddenly, Haim pulls Ida into her dressing room and tries to crush him with her airbags. After fighting for his life for a bit, Ida breaks free and tells her he can't check out her swimsuit if she clings to him. When he checks her out, all he can see are her flawless racks, so he blushes, confusing Haim, who then asks if it looks weird, but Ida says it looks good and hurries out. Suddenly, AI barges out of a dressing room and accuses him of secretly spending time with ladies. To keep her quiet, Ida offers to pick her swimsuits for her, so AI drags him along. Shortly after, AI rocks a wedding dress and asks Ida how she looks in it, but he asks her why she's trying on a wedding dress. While AI blabs about meeting his parents, the other ladies arrive, and Masuzu tells him he's a failure as a boyfriend. Suddenly, they spot AI in her outfit and freak out. Afterward, they sit to have drinks, and Ida explains that he'll spend 20 minutes attending to each of them. Just then, Chiwa points out that AI has a boyfriend, so Masuzu chips in that she can show Mitchell her swimsuit pictures. Hearing this, AI fakes a smile and says she'll do just that. Afterwards, the girls had fun making their choices with Ida, leaving AI, who stands alone, bored. Ida then asks her why she's crying since the mystery boyfriend idea was hers. When she admits this, Ida hands her a pamphlet where he has circled a swimsuit that'll look good on her. Suddenly, AI hugs Ida to thank him, but her arch nemesis arrives and threatens to inform her boyfriend. On their way home, Ida asks why she showed up since she didn't approve of the location the previous night. In response, Masuzu says she's the only one without memories of him, so Ida suggests they make some. However, Masuzu says he's being presumptuous and reminds him he's just a fake boyfriend. Shortly after, they bump into Siko, who then introduces herself as Ida's aunt and asks which of the girls is Ida's girlfriend. Masuzu then steps forward to introduce herself as his girlfriend, but Siko laughs and says she wasn't talking about his fake girlfriend. Surprised, everyone exclaims while Siko asks Ida which of the girls he loves. Afterwards, Ida pretends to be clueless and explains that Masuzu is his girlfriend since they spend a lot of time hanging out. In response, Siko asks if that's all they do and grabs Ida's shoulder. She then says he seems to be forgetting something important. Before she finishes, Siko says she's hungry and collapses in Ida's arms. A few moments later, Siko gobbles up a bowl of food and sleeps off on the desk. When the ladies ask if she really fell asleep, Ida says she's always like that and covers her up. When AI suggests they go somewhere else, Ida says it's fine since Siko will soon be awake again. Haim then says she'd like to check out Ida's room, but when he turns to reply, he spots AI instigating Haim's request, so he tells her to quit trying since the stamp she needs isn't in the room. AI then fakes a smile while asking what she needs a stamp for. Just then, Chiwa asks what Siko meant by fake. So Masuzu says she's also curious about it since it's not cool to be accused by someone she just met. However, Ida insinuates that they need to focus on how to pay for the summer trip. While they discuss and debate ways to make money for funding the trip, Siko awakens and points out that they could go to the beach if they could compete in a contest. After showing them a pamphlet of the event, Siko explains that it's a publicity event for a newly launched game. After this, Siko adds that she makes games that make their players want to squeal, impressing Haim. However, when AI points out that the games are X-rated, Siko says she's only working on games for all ages. After this, Chiwa asks how they can compete, and Siko explains that they all qualify for the game since they're in love with Ida. Just then, Masuzu steps forward and asks Siko why she's excluding her, and in response, Siko states that she's good at telling when people are in love, since it's her job to make fake things look like the real deal. Sensing that Masuzu won't back down, Siko suggests they test how much she loves Ida with an app. After this, Siko asks the other ladies if they're in, and they all agree. So Siko launches the app and asks the ladies some questions about Ida. After this, she announces that the results are out and suddenly declares AI the winner since she loves Ida the most, according to the app. Just then, AI freaks out and says it's totally wrong because she doesn't like him. Unfortunately for her, when she lets it slip that she loves him, AI freaks out more and dashes out of the room. Siko then announces their respective positions, and because Masuzu came last, she asks why. Siko then explains that her answer was too perfect, and that reveals that she can't fall in love. When Masuzu says she has a problem with that, Siko suggests she compete in the contest and promises to acknowledge her as Ida's girlfriend if she wins. Just then, Chiwa says she'll compete to win and settle things with Masuzu once and for all. Facing Ida, Haim asks if he'll promote her from girlfriend to current if she wins, but Siko says the winner will get to be Ida's wife since she's his guardian. Just then, AI barges in and says she'll compete too. Later, while Ida prepares a work meal for Siko, she walks in and commends him. Afterward, she asks if he wants to turn his life into a harem or war zone, but Ida says he's after neither. Ignoring this, Siko advises him to either learn to fight or come up with a good plan since a harem is a lot to handle. When Ida thanks her and insists hers not building a harem, Siko asks him to choose one of the girls. Ida then says he's dating Masuzu, but Siko tells him to get real and points out that Masuzu probably hasn't ever told him of her true feelings. While they talk, Ida gets a text from Masuzu inviting him for a date at the park, so he hurries off. Some moments later, Ida arrives at the park and spots Masuzu having a drink, so he asks if that's her dinner. In response, Masuzu says she's not fond of eating and rants about how love-sick idiots go out to eat all the time. Hearing this, Ida comments that having a drink for dinner is bad for her health, so Masuzu asks why everyone is falling for a peaky bookworm like him. Some moments later, Masuzu asks Ida about Siko, but when he says she's like a kid in an adult's body, Masuzu points out that she's losing her edge if Siko can tell that their relationship is fake. Ida then asks if she's upset, but Masuzu explains that she was always good at fooling adults by pretending to be a good girl. Afterwards, she expresses her shock to find out Siko was immune to her charms. She then asks Ida why he looks down since he's safe if their secret ever gets out. But Ida says he thought he was a good actor too, but wonders how the ladies will react when they find out it's all a lie. Just then, Masuzu announces that she'll win the contest and make everyone acknowledge her as his girlfriend. The next day, while Ida hangs out with Kaoru and AI, Kaoru reveals that the guys in school are jealous since he has a harem of cuties to himself. Afterward, while they check out some books, AI tells Kaoru to text her frequently when she leaves for the summer trip. Surprised, Ida asks if they chat that much. But Kaoru says it's just an alibi to prove her boyfriend exists. After this, Kaoru says he wishes to go to the beach, so Ida asks if he'll tag along, but Kaoru refuses. He then rests his head on Ida's shoulder and says he's taking a mini trip. Just then, AI arrives to ruin the moment. She then gets a call from Haim, surprising Ida, who then points out that they're getting along. Later, while Ida chats with Chiwa through her window, she reveals she suspected something was weird about Ida's relationship with Masuzu. She then says she'll win the contest and rescue him from the witch. Just then, Chiwa gets a call from AI, so she bids him goodnight, while Ida figures everyone is getting along well except Masuzu. The next day, Ida packs his bag and joins Chiwa, and together, they arrive at the station to meet the others. On the train, Masuzu whispers to Ida that they need to act like a couple, so they put on a show while the other ladies watch and gossip about their poor acting skills. Shortly after, they arrive at the resort, and when they get to see the beach, Haim freaks out. After they slip into their beachwear, Masuzu announces that they're starting club activities immediately, so the ladies get in the water and play while Ida and Masuzu watch them from afar. When Ida then asks Masuzu if she'll be going for a swim, she threatens to get back at him for teasing her. Meanwhile, AI finds a heart-shaped seashell and shows it to Ida. When she asks if he wants to find more together, Ida says she can knock herself out while at it, annoying AI. So she freaks out and gets lost in the ocean. Afterward, Ida covers Masuzu up with a towel to keep other guys from staring at her honkers, but Masuzu asks why he's acting like a love-sick idiot. In response, Ida reminds her that they plan to act. However, Masuzu points out that their friends aren't even looking at them. Some moments later, after they eat, Masuzu asks Ida to prepare dessert while pointing to a melon on the beach. So Ida gets blindfolded and tries to find the melon while the ladies direct him with their voices. After Ida goes around in circles for a while, Masuzu convinces him that only his girlfriend tells the truth, so Ida decides to shun the other girls and follow Masuzu's voice. Eventually, he ends up grabbing her milk cannons instead. While he wonders why the melons feel softer, Masuzu hugs him tighter and asks if her melons are good. Annoyed, the other ladies showed us and branded Ida as the man of culture he is. Later, while they cook, AI asks Masuzu if the boys stopped asking her out when she started dating Ida. When Masuzu confirms this, AI reveals that she witnessed Masuzu rejecting a proposal and says if she were in her shoes, it wouldn't be strange to stop caring and just go out with whoever. Afterward, AI says she won't forgive Masuzu if that's why she's dating Ida. In response, Masuzu asks how she's supposed to peel an onion, and AI freaks out while berating her for ruining the onions. AI then says she'll handle the vegetables and instructs Masuzu to get the rice. When AI chips in that she better not wash the rice with soap, Masuzu wonders if AI thinks she's stupid. Some moments later, Ida communicates with Masuzu in the bath, and she states that they need to do something solid to prove they're dating. Hearing this, Ida freaks out and asks if they should give each other a present. But Masuzu says they need something more intense, so she suggests that Ida give her a kiss while the other girls watch. When Ida asks if she means it, Masuzu asks why he's flustered since kisses don't mean a thing to anti-love types like them. When Ida points out that he'll get thrown in the war zone by doing that, Masuzu gives him a choice to back out. Later that evening, while they play card games, Ida flashes back to his plan with Masuzu. She had told him to pretend he's going to bed and kiss her casually after she bids him goodnight. After this, Ida announces that he's going to bed and waits for Masuzu's signal. But while she stalls, Chiwa suggests they call it a night. Just then, Chiwa reaches into a bag and hands out gifts to Ida and Masuzu. When they unwrap it, they find a matching cell phone strap. So Chiwa explains that Haim designed it, while AI found a shop that could make it. After this, AI chips in that it was Chiwa's idea, so Chiwa explains that it's a keepsake for the club. When they point out that it's a surprise, Ida asks why they left him out of the loop. But Chiwa says he can't keep a secret to save his life. Masuzu then thanks the ladies for the thoughtful gesture and promises to treasure the gift. Later that night, Ida apologizes for not going along with the kiss, but Masuzu says she would have hated him if he did. In addition, Masuzu talks about how wretched she feels since the other could give her a present, despite seeing her as a rival. While she beats herself up, Masuzu says she can't win the contest the next day, so Ida suggests she withdraw. But Masuzu says she has to participate and face proper judgment. After this, she opens a locker while explaining what pain Chiwa must have felt when she snatched him from her. She then takes out a sheet where Ida's promise to become a doctor was written. Masuzu then thanks Ida and adds that he'll be free after the summer trip. In the morning, while they had breakfast, the ladies wondered if Masuzu would make the event since she wasn't up yet, but Masuzu said she would be ready. Some moments later, the ladies head out without Masuzu, so Ida knocks on her door to ask if she's hungry, but Masuzu says she wants to be left alone. Afterward, Ida takes a walk, and while he complains about the sun glare, he suddenly gets hit by a bicycle ridden by Mana. Accidentally, his hands land on Mana's malnourished rice cakes, so they both freak out, and Mana calls him a creepy virgin boy. In response, Ida says he'll take that as a compliment. After they wear each other out screaming, Mana says her resort trip is ruined, so Ida suggests she go overseas since she's got enough money. Just when Mana says trash like Ida shouldn't be on the resort, he shuts her up and says he's on a club trip. Surprised, Mana asks if Masuzu's there too. Some minutes later, Mana asks if Masuzu is okay, but when Ida asks if she's concerned, Mana denies it and says she's only asking because she has to report to their dad. After this, Mana explains that Suzu was the jewel of the family since she always met her father's expectations until it drove her crazy. Mana then asks Ida if Suzu has taken him for a crazy ride, and he admits she has. Afterwards, while Ida hurries down to the event venue, Siko announces the start of the event and invites Chiwa on stage. Just then, Chiwa introduces herself and reveals that she enjoys eating meat. Shortly after, Siko asks her to show how she's head over heels for her crush. So she reveals that Ida is too freaking serious since all he ever does is study. In addition, Chiwa reveals that they've been childhood friends and thanks Ida for all he's ever done for her. After she declares her love for Ida, the crowd cheers her on. After this, Siko invites Haim on stage, but she shows up behind Ida in the crowd. Surprised, Ida asks what she's doing, and Haim reveals she's got stage fright. So while Ida reminds Haim that she's part of the club, AI gets on stage and gives Haim a pep talk. Ignoring this, Haim asks Ida how she can get over being scared, and he suggests she drown out her fears with love. Afterwards, Ida asks Haim about what she loves most, and she says it's him. So Ida tells her to say she loves him 10 times like a spell. Suddenly, Haim hugs Ida tightly and talks about how she has changed since she met him. In addition, she says she doesn't mind being his side chick if she can't be his main. Just then, Ida hugs her, but the sweet moment gets interrupted by Siko. who then gets the camera focused on the duo. Suddenly, the crowd cheers them on while AI shows up and berates Haim for holding Ida. As punishment, Ida gets branded for his crime. While the ladies scold Ida and Haim, Siko announces that Masuzu is getting on stage. Suddenly, Masuzu shows up while the crowd marvels at her looks. However, Masuzu apologizes to the audience and announces that she lost the right to participate in the contest since her boyfriend broke up with her the previous night. Facing Ida, the ladies ask if he really broke up with Masuzu. Ignoring them, Ida makes his way through the crowd and tells Masuzu to keep up the act. Surprised, Masuzu asks why he showed up, and Ida claims to be her boyfriend and proposes that they start all over again. Suddenly, the lights and camera focus on Ida, while Masuzu explains that it won't work since he has real lovers around him. When she asks why he wants to stay with a fake, Ida screams, saying he loves Masuzu. After this, he gets on stage and says that he's the only idiot crazy enough to stick with her. Just then, Ida grabs her and asks her to be his girlfriend. Without waiting for an answer, he then kisses Masuzu while the crowd watches. The next day, Ida wakes and finds Masuzu in his bed, so he asks what she's doing, and Masuzu says she's thinking of ending him. She then asks if he's lying when he says he loves her, and Ida reveals that he hates her and would have broken up if she didn't have his notebook. After this, Masuzu talks about how terrible she is as a person and adds that she's in love with him. She then gets all cute with Ida, surprising him. Some moments later, Siko tells Ida that the other ladies are definitely on a war route with him and expresses her worry for his safety. She then proposes a third route that avoids either the war zone or the harem route. Siko then suggests he get the other ladies to hate him, so Ida heads to Haim's room first and announces that the memories of his past life have returned fully. After she expresses her shock about his kiss with Masuzu, Ida tries to convince her that he isn't the man in her fantasies. However, Haim refuses to back out on her feelings for him. Devastated by his failure to make Haim hate him, Ida heads to Ai's room, but she reluctantly lets him in. Just then, Ida requests to see the marriage certificate, so AI gets it and hands it to him. While he thinks of ripping it apart, he gets distracted by a teddy bear. AI then asks if he remembers the bear, but Ida doesn't, so she tears up and throws a tantrum. Just then, she snatches the certificate and realizes it was stained by Ida's hands, so she claims he stamped it and gets excited. After AI thanks him and dashes out, Ida heads to Chiwa's room and finds her staring at the ocean. While he tries to explain himself, Chiwa says she has no right to be angry and wishes she had bigger melons and body like Masuzu. When she tears up, Ida walks up to her and tries to console her, but Chiwa suddenly turns and kisses him. Afterward, she asks if he thought she couldn't reach him and points out that she has grown taller. When she states that he didn't notice because they are always together, Ida stares blankly. So Chiwa confesses her love for Ida, but Masuzu shows up and comments that her confession won't settle things. In addition, Masuzu points out that she seems to be enjoying herself and asks if she could join in. But Chiwa wipes her tears and tells her to come back in 9 years. Just then, the two stare at each other, leaving Ida confused, so he freaks out. If you made it to the end of the video, confuse the fake fans by commenting "pretend boyfriends suck." And if you like anime recaps like this, then watch this video right here.